What's up, guys? This is Robert with Dailey Woodworks and the recreationalwoodworker.com, where we help you build great furniture. And today I'm going to be working on a personal project. My wife and I want a new headboard for our bedroom, and I have been playing with kind of my own furniture design and layout. You can kind of see I've got Susan over here several places. Um, of course, this isn't anything overly of a unique style. It's pretty shaker mission style, but it's what I like, and I like building what I like. And if it just happens to be fairly traditional and not super unique, I'm okay with that. So, that's a dresser or entertainment center. We have a chest of drawers here. Or excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't say that right. Chester drawers. Chester drawers. That's how you say that. Table, and you can see it all kind of follows the basic mission style. And I'm working on a changing table. We have a really cool old, I don't know, just like little side table that we've used as a changing table, and it's just a really good size, but it's really old and kind of falling apart. And I'm gonna repair it and refinish it because it is really nice. But I'm gonna make, just kind of the full furniture suite, and then eventually put out a set of plans for this whole line. Today I'm going to be starting with a headboard for our bed, and this is going to be a queen size headboard, and I'll eventually make a king and full size too and just include it in the plans when they come out. But my wife and I talked, and she wants it painted. So that's going to be white now, and it'll fit better with her room. And so it'll be white, and then the top we're gonna do. I've got some walnut in the house. I think I'm gonna do like a nice little walnut top just to give it a little bit of character. Yeah, it's a little bit farmhouse, but it'll still look super nice. And we're gonna go about 48 inches tall. And what I'm gonna work on right now are these legs. So let's head out from SketchUp to the shop and get started on that. We've moved from SketchUp to the shop, and I need to make my legs. I've had this piece of butcher block set aside. I was going to do like a hand tool workbench with it, and I just haven't ever gotten to it. So I've decided to use it for the project in front of me instead of a dream project down the road. This is 1.5 inches thick, and it's about 6 foot long. Yeah, it's a little less than 6 foot long. And this is what I'm going to make my legs out of. This is made from Havia, which is the same thing as rubber wood or para wood. It's very similar in appearance, look, and characteristics of how to use it, how to work it as soft maple. I need my legs to be 3 inches by 3 inches. I'll rip like 3.5 inch planks, laminate them together, and then I'll trim it down to a 3-inch square. The nice thing about this is it's already super flat. It's been milled up, and so it's already as flat as I can get it. There's no sense running it through a planer, so I don't have to do any extra work to get it flat enough to glue together. So I'm excited about that. And since we're painting it now, this will work great. So I'm going to get those cut down, and then we'll start working on our glue up. Of course, you can buy some 4x4 posts. I don't like using box store pine, but there's nothing necessarily wrong with using it. And in case you've been on the fence about a track saw, the Makita 36 volt track saw did that in one pass, and I've got a 50 tooth plywood blade on there. That's a plywood blade, that's not even a rip blade. And it did it in one pass with no burning. So, track saws are worth the investment, but definitely get yourself a good one. I wouldn't get one of the super cheap ones. I'd get a Makita or a Festool if I was going to buy one. Or a Mafell if you have, won the lottery or something. Alright, I'm going to rip 3 more of those, and then we'll start gluing them up. I have my legs partially milled up, and I went ahead and cut them about 3 or 4 inches longer than the finish dimensions are going to be. And then I have these extra blocks that I'm going to use to mount on the legs when I'm done, so that I can bolt the bed frame to it, because this headboard's going on just your traditional metal frame. And then later, eventually, I'll incorporate it into a full bed. Gluing up legs like this is fairly simple. You want to make sure everything's nice and flat and square. I'm just trusting that this was already flat. And then you can do all your legs at once, as long as you're careful with where you put glues. And I'm just going to use the pieces to spread my glue around. You can see by doing that, I've got my glue pretty well spread around, and my clamping pressure will handle the rest since it's one leg. So I'm just going to set it over to the side right here. Just let gravity do its thing. I'm going to do my other leg and just set this on top like this and clamp it up. So I'm just going to lay it on its side like this. Make sure everything's nice and flat. And hopefully these will work. Ha, barely. Okay. Alright, I moved this over to my panel clamp, and now this will hold out of the way while I'm able to work on everything else. Say hi! Hi! And this can dry just out of the way. If you want to see a video on how I set this up, you can click in the description, and I'll put a link down there. You can do this out of 1x material, 2x material, whatever, to make the legs you need. It's just as long as you get it square and flat, it'll glue up nice and easy. Or you can just buy the legs in the size you need. I've got my legs out of the clamps, and now I need to straighten this out. I don't have a jointer. A jointer would be perfect for this. I could run it across, clean out my glue squeeze out, and the unevenness in my boards, like this one's a little bit proud. Could take that down, vice versa, and get it perfectly straight. So I have to come up with another solution. I've got everything kind of stacked up where my track will sit level with this, and obviously my track saw can't do 3 inches of plunge, but I'm going to plunge down as far as I can and just kiss it. I'm just going to take off a tiny little bit, and when you ever take off small little amounts like this, it's probably going to throw dust everywhere. So here's what I'm doing. I've got my straight edge here. I've marked it with pencil. I don't want to use my hand plane where my pencil is. A bigger hand plane would be better, but this is the 4.5 that I have. You can see I got to take more off here. So the idea is I'm going to take off enough, but leave this pencil line, and I'll stop when I hit that pencil line, and then I'll sand the rest, and it will be close enough for what I'm doing. So up top is where I need to remove the most material. So I'm just going to start taking my shavings. And I'm taking a pretty aggressive cut. Just because I want to, I want to get done. So now I can run this beautiful edge through my table saw to trim that to final width. This is pretty straightforward. I want my legs to be 3x3. So I'm going to set my table saw at 3 inches. Actually, I'm going to do about 3 1/16. No, scratch that. 3 and about 1/32. Just get me a little bit over that. That way I can sand it down if I'm not cutting perfectly true. I'm going to raise up my table saw blade as much as it'll go. Alright, I'm going to lock that down.
and I'm going to run this against my fence. For extra safety, I'm going to put on my feather board. Push that right there. Push that right there and then lock it down. This is a mag switch feather board. You can get it on Amazon if you have a cast iron tabletop on your table saw. This is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. All right, the finished height of my headboard is going to be 48 inches. So I hope that's tall enough, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Now I'm seeing it, it doesn't look as tall as I thought it'd be. So maybe that messed up. Maybe I didn't. We about to find out. Now I just need to basically make a frame and panel, just a frame and panel to go across to act as a stretcher. Put a little top on it, and this guy will be ready to paint. Okay, I have everything cut and pretty much ready to start kind of our joinery portion. So I've got my two legs, and then I have my what's essentially a face frame right here. Then on the very top I had a piece of walnut that is just left over from past projects, and I trimmed it down the size. It had a live edge on it, but I don't really want a live edge on my headboard. I'm going to kind of round these corners over a little bit so they're nice to the touch. And that way when you're leaning back against it reading at night, it will feel comfortable. My pocket holes in all of my styles right here on the back side. And then I'm going to round over all my edges, all my touch points, with just 1/8 of an inch round over, just so it feels nice against your hand, everything. Sand it. We're going to paint this part white. My blocks for mounting my screws will have to go flush with the front right here, and then I'll inset the panel about probably about 3/4 of an inch, because I'll use like a 3/4 inch spacer or something to do that. So time for the good old pocket hole machine. I'm ready to assemble my face frame. According to my drawings, I need 16 inches between my rails, or between my styles. So I just used a piece of scrap wood to cut a 16-inch spacer, so that whenever this is flush with the end and I measure everything over, I can push against that and get it flush. Whenever I do something like this, I start from the outside and work my way in, unless I have like a dead center, and then I'll work from the dead center and work my way out. That way, if this ends up being a little bit off, it's less noticeable than if you start all on one side and then that error compounds. This way your error is divided over the length, and it just makes it, if there is an error, less visible. Everybody knows how pocket hole joinery works. You take it, you line it up, you get it around to a dog hole that's in the right spot, and then you start clamping it down. Now I'm just going to put my spacer block right here, have it nice and tight, and then start clamping it down. And now that I've done this one, I'll start over here. I don't know if you can see that in camera, but I'll start here and go to the inside, and then this should work out where the spacing is right. Now I've got this together, and you can see that my spacer block fits in nice and snug there. On this side, it's nice and snug, but on the center section, I've got about a 1/16, and so it's about a 1/16 off total on my measurements. Just, you know, this might not be perfectly 2.5. All those little errors add up, stacking tolerances and all that. So by doing that, this one is the same size, and then these two outside ones are exactly the same, and that gives us our symmetry. Now I'm going to put some pocket holes here and across the side so I can pocket screw this into my legs. But first I'm going to give everything a good sanding and go ahead and do all my routing and things like that. Alright, so I've got this assembled. For going into these posts, I used 2-inch pocket screws just to really get a good meaty bite in there, and of course I glued this joint. To space it, I just got a scrap piece of 3/4, pushed down hard on that, pushed down hard on that to pull it together, and that worked really well. Now I'm just going to cut my 1/2-inch panel to this size, and then glue it, and then just nail it onto the back with some brad nails, let that glue dry. And then we are ready to do kind of a final sand and paint. Alright, I've got my back panel cut. I've got my pretty side of my plywood facing forward. I'm going to start here. And then run a bead of glue all the way down the rails and the stiles. And just for grins, I'm going to go ahead and mark where everything goes. That way I don't accidentally shoot a nail through the face. That would be sad. Marked where my stiles were, so now I'm just taking my track saw with a square on it to scribe a nail line. There. And here we go. Here is the body of our headboard. I'm gonna get it ready to paint and then throw out 3 coats of paint on it, and then I'll start working on my little walnut top. Alright, I'm pretty much done with the bed. I'm just waiting on the finish to dry on my top. I took some of these extra blocks right here and just put them flush with the bottom, pocket screwed them on. This way whenever I go to my bed, I can drill out where the mounting locations are for the hardware and just get some bolts run through. I'll probably just do like a 3/8 inch bolt. I only need it to be about, let's see, 1.5 inches, about 2 inches long. We'll go through there, something like that, with some washers. Same thing over here for the top that I'm going to put on there. You can see as I just drilled out some pocket screw locations. After I was done, I'm not going to glue on the top, and the pocket screws will flex enough in there to handle that. We just did 3 coats of an antique white paint on this. Turned out nice. Right now I've got my brand heating up. I'm going to brand it and date it. And yeah, let me show you the top real quick. Apologize for the noise. We've got our exhaust fans going. I just sprayed my 2nd coat of lacquer on this walnut that I had. It's turned out beautifully. And I'm waiting for it to cure, and then I'm going to sand that down and do a 3rd final coat on that, and it will be very nice. And I think I've been debating whether or not I was going to do this to the front or back, and I think I'm going to do this cool sapwood to the front just because it's going to be a nice little showpiece there. And we are all done. This whole project was pretty much done with pocket screws and some wood glue and paint. It's super easy. I am going to have a set of plans available for this. I'm gonna in those plans I'm gonna do a twin, full queen and king size with just your standard metal bed frame, so it should work with any of those. This was made for a queen. This is an antique white paint face frame with a 1/2 inch plywood backer, some leftover butcher block countertop that I made into posts, and then I found a nice piece of walnut for the topper, and now it's ready to go inside. This was one of my wife's Christmas presents. She's been wanting this for a while, and I hope she loves it, and I hope you like this as well. If you did, give me a like and subscribe and all that good stuff. We'll see you next time.